What is going on, guys? It's Chus with another episode, video, whatever you want to call it, of No Buts About It. Only we're not going to be doing a show. It's just me. Josh is hanging out in his dining room in Indiana, I'm sure, or maybe on the couch in Indiana. But I decided to sit back down in my basement here in Pittsburgh and talk about one of the potential hottest running back free agents that you can think of. And by the title, you probably already know who I'm talking about, and that is none other than Dalvin Cook, who signed with the New York Jets this past offseason and has decided to mutually part ways with them. And now, with the season coming to an end, there's a lot of potential teams that could look to pick up Dalvin Cook late in the season. And obviously, with him being 28 and not getting a lot of reps with the New York Jets, he's still relatively healthy and obviously could be probably targeting a team that is going to be contending for a Super Bowl. So with that said, I'm going to list a couple of teams that he could be potentially signing with going forward. And you may want to stay tuned for the last one because the last one's going to make me mad. I'm sure it'll make Josh mad, but there's a reason behind it. And it could be a very good landing candidate for Dalvin Cook. So the first team I want to mention, and the reason I'm going to mention them is just because of how much this team was in the news about getting Dalvin Cook in the offseason, would be none other than the Miami Dolphins. Now, I'm not really going to count these as the three that I really want to highlight, but I am going to mention them because they had so much into signing Dalvin Cook this offseason. Now, with Raheem Mostert and A-Chain playing out of their minds so far for the Miami Dolphins this season, it's probably not going to happen. However, I did want to highlight them and mention them because obviously the Miami Dolphins had a lot of interest in Dalvin Cook this past offseason and is still a potential spot that none other than Dalvin Cook could go to. The first team that I actually want to mention as a potential contender for Dalvin Cook would be none other than the Dallas Cowboys. Now, hear me out with this. In Dallas, it always seemed like the running back 2 was the most successful position on the offense, to an extent, I would say, because obviously the wide receivers are very, very, very good, and they've had a lot of really good offense and passing and whatnot. But when it came to the running backs, the running back 1 always just seemed to take a backseat to the running back 2. I mean, when Ezekiel Elliott was there, it always seemed like in the last couple of years that Tony Pollard was always having more of a better year than Ezekiel Elliott was. So when Ezekiel Elliott was let go by the Dallas Cowboys in the offseason, they moved with Tony Pollard being the running back 1. However, Pollard has struggled a little bit this year. I'm not going to say entirely, but he has struggled to an extent. He's definitely not what they were hoping that he would be. And Rico Dowdle has had some carries as well. However, with Dowdle beat up and the Cowboys needing a strong run game to remain competitive, I wouldn't be shocked if Dalvin Cook would sign here. Not only is Cook guaranteed more playing time than he saw in New York, but the offense clearly values using 2 running backs in their scheme, and putting Cook in the rotation could be very lethal and might give Dallas Cowboys a chance to actually go a little further than they have over the last 5 years. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion. Maybe they'll still run with Pollard and Dowdle with, their running back scheme that they got going on in Dallas right now, but I really think Dalvin Cook could make a splash in Dallas going into the postseason. This next one shouldn't come as a shock, but the Buffalo Bills. Now, the reason that this shouldn't be a shock is because of the obvious thing, the biggest elephant in the room. His brother is already in Buffalo. James Cook is on the Buffalo Bills and is currently their starting running back and has become a key piece of the offense. And the Bills fans just absolutely adore James Cook. But that's not all. Bills have already shown a willingness to sign veteran running backs, having signed both Latavius Murray and Leonard Fournette this season. While neither have really wowed at all, Ty Johnson has also not impressed and was on the injury report last week, even though he played. So when it comes to Buffalo, they're in a situation this week where they either get the 2 seed or are eliminated from the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, the chemistry between James and Dalvin Cook may be too good for Sean McDermott and the Bills to pass up. Buffalo has been up and down this year. They're finally coming into that do or die spot, and obviously they would probably love to make that playoff run if physically possible, considering that they've struggled over the last couple of years to make it further into the playoffs with the star-studded teams they've had in the past. So maybe this could be Buffalo's year, and by signing Dalvin Cook, might just help them out a little bit. With the final team that I want to bring up, and it pains me to my soul and it pains me to my core that I have to even mention this team, but I'm going to because they could be one of the top landing spots for Dalvin Cook in this postseason. It would pain my soul and it would pain Josh's just as much, and that is none other than the team being the Baltimore freaking Ravens. Oh, my heart, my chest. I want Dalvin Cook to get a ring, but I don't want him to do it with freaking Baltimore, man. That would just pain me. Now, I guess I wouldn't want to see him with Dallas either because of all the history that the Cowboys have had with the Steelers. But nonetheless, here we are, Baltimore freaking Ravens. Listen, after how the Ravens fans treated Burrow with the injuries and how they've just been all season with treating different people, I don't know if necessarily they deserve to be awarded with a Super Bowl this season. Feel like they've been a little mean, and maybe that's just coming from a Steelers fan, but they've been a little, on the fence, and I'm sure Josh could agree because obviously they didn't treat Burrow's injury all that great. But nonetheless, nothing against Lamar and John Harbaugh. It's purely a rivalry and sportsmanship thing for me. But that doesn't change the fact that this makes a ton of sense, and the Ravens are the best team in the conference going into the playoffs and could be a really good spot for Dalvin Cook. The Ravens need a running back with J.K. Dobbins and Keaton Mitchell both being out for the season. However, Gus Edwards and Justice Hill have been doing well, but are they enough to keep the offense going throughout the postseason? Who knows? But the Ravens need another strong, pure rusher, in my opinion, so they can keep guys like Justice Hill energized for the passing game. Furthermore, they've kept Melvin Gordon on their practice squad for these snaps, but on 6 attempts against the Patriots, he only got like 10 yards. So they're obviously not going to be running with Melvin Gordon, even though he's on their practice squad. And who better to run with than Dalvin Cook going through the playoffs? I mean, after all, like we said, he's relatively healthy. He wasn't used a lot in New York because of Breece Hall, Israel Benakanda, and all these other running backs that they have over in New York. So obviously he is relatively healthy. So with that said, if Edwards or Hill get injured in the run game, it'll take a massive hit to the Baltimore Ravens and make it a little questionable for weapons in the passing game because obviously they use a lot of passing plays to their running backs as well as, handing the ball off to these two running backs that are not necessarily bad running backs, but they're obviously backups because J.K. Dobbins was supposed to be that starter. Now, we don't really know if he's going to end up staying, but nonetheless, Dalvin Cook might be that key because, like I said, if Justice Hill or Gus Edwards gets hurt, you're without a run game, and it's kind of up in the air of what that run game is going to look like. The Ravens also have that first round bye in the playoffs, granting Cook more time to learn the offensive playbook and very good chance of getting a ring. Like I said, pains me to even mention Baltimore, but obviously if Dalvin Cook is ring chasing and the Baltimore Ravens really want him, there is definitely a chance that the Baltimore Ravens could look to sign Dalvin Cook and enhance their run game and try to keep, like I said, Justice Hill or Gus Edwards a little healthier instead of overutilizing them and having them get hurt when it matters most, such as in that divisional round, trying to get to the AFC Championship and even further to the Super Bowl. After all, we saw them blow out Miami. We know that the Baltimore Ravens are a contender, and like I said, it hurts my soul and it hurts Josh's soul, and I'm sure it hurts a lot of Browns fans' souls because the Browns are also really good this year. The Bengals, not so much. The Steelers, well, we're in a do-or-die situation too, but nonetheless, they could sign Dalvin Cook. If you made it to the end of this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like what we thought. And where do you think Dalvin Cook should go? Let me know in the comments down below. And I hope you check out the rest of our videos. Obviously, you might not like my opinion. You might not like where I think he could end up. Maybe there's another team you think that he could end up on that could be a contender, or maybe you don't think he's going to sign at all this season, and maybe he'll sign in the offseason of next year and sign with a contender then. Who knows? But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year, guys. Be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.